that many people talk about just the whole mind shift, life shift, all the shifts that happen when you go from being a 9-to-5 employee to be an entrepreneur. They talk about the schedule shifts. They talk about, the fact that it's all on you. But I feel like there's so much more that goes on internally. Hey Garden Fam, it's your host, Raven Epiphany. I hope you are doing well and having a wonderful Friday. I wanted to come on and chat about 10 things that I have learned since being in business. So let's dive into it. One of the big things that I've learned so far since being in business and specifically in real estate is learning to live a life by design and leading into my power to decide. And so choosing to live a life by design has meant and given me the opportunity to cultivate my own path in life and business. For example, in real estate, is a lot of messaging around you need to hustle, you got to get out here, you got to be on the phones all the time, you got to be available all the time if you want to be successful, etc. And listen, that mindset is one of the biggest ones that kept me from even ever pursuing this goal in the beginning, because if you know me, I ain't trying to be on my phone all the time. And you know me, I do not hustle anymore. Like, that is not the type of life that I am seeking to live. And so it has shown me that, like, just because everybody else, and I won't say everybody, but just because that is a general consensus that real estate comes with hustling and, just always having to be connected to your phone, that does not mean that has to be your reality. And it hasn't had to be my reality. I have learned that I can make key decisions for myself despite what is normal around me. And it has really pushed me to sit and imagine the life I want, to tune in to God for cues in the life that I'm called to live, and then to move forward and to create that in real time, trusting that God will either honor or redirect my choices as needed. And so it's really given me the opportunity to do that within business, but it's expanded past there. It's really caused me to say, okay, if this can work in real estate, how does this match with your life? And, me and God have been in this co-creation space since then. The next thing is very closely related, and that is learning to define what success looks and feels like for me. Again, there are times when you can go into spaces and this is the general consensus for success. For example, you go to college, the general consensus for success is that you major in something, you stay in that major, you graduate in 4 years, you go work in that, correct? That would be the standard box for success. Going into real estate, the standard box for success is that you get a bunch of clients, you make a certain amount of money, and you sell a certain amount of houses in a certain amount of time, and you're just well known throughout. These are some of the buzzwords of what is considered success. Well, for me, that wasn't granted. Yes, of course, I'm here. I want to be able to make money. But also, more important than just making the money is, again, being able to cultivate the type of life that I want in general, and not compromising that for the sake of money. And so knowing that the two can be joined together, that is what success looks like for me. So while, yes, I could go out here and be hustling and make money, that would not feel like success for me, because, while I would have all the money, the lifestyle that I'm seeking, and I won't even say seeking, cultivating, would be out of alignment, and that's not success to me. And so it has to be about what success looks like. I have learned that it has to be about what success looks like for me, and that requires quiet time, thinking time. It requires withdrawing from the voices for some time, getting the wisdom and then sitting with it to decide what matches and what doesn't, and then deciding how to move forward, and so I've had to learn and define what success looks like for me. The next thing is that when you stay the course and, trust in consistent efforts, you will see that your actions will be honored with favorable results. Like, I have learned just to trust that process. I mean, I know that's such a cliche phrase, but like literally trusting the process, it has shown to be true. Like, literally, if you choose, okay, this is my strategy, this is how I'm going to work it, and you consistently do it. I mean, granted, you want to give yourself a time period to see if it works or if you need to pivot. But overall, just trusting this idea that if I do these tailored efforts, it's eventually going to work out one way or another. Like, it's going to have to either, and actually it's going to work, period, because either it's going to show me I'm going to learn something, or it's going to work in the ways that I expected it to work, and we're going to keep moving forward in it. And so it's really just shown me in action what that actually looks like. And granted, I've done that plenty of times before, but I feel like, I don't know that many people talk about just the whole mind shift, life shift, all the shifts that happen when you go from being a 9 to 5 employee to be an entrepreneur. They talk about the schedule shifts. They talk about, the fact that it's all on you. But I feel like there's so much more that goes on internally that, a lot of people don't talk about. And one of them is just, being able to duplicate certain successes that you had when you were in 9 to 5, when you're in school, whatever else, and take them and apply them to business. It applies a bit differently. And so it's almost like learning to ride a bike all over again. The next thing is it has reinvigorated my belief in myself to be able to do things well, do new things well. So like when you come into real estate, you are waterboarded with a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, this is how you cold call. This is how you read contracts and write contracts and all of that. This is how you market yourself. You need to have this and that. And it's just like, waterboarded with a whole bunch of information, right? And then, it can be overwhelming at first, but then, you start to digest it and decide how you're going to move forward. And so with that, I've learned yes, I've done that process previously, gotten a new job, had to learn what the new job was like, gone through onboarding, and then, I've been able to show myself, okay, we can be successful. But I feel like when you move into entrepreneurship, it's a similar but different skill and mindset that comes with that. And so, it has given me an opportunity to show myself like, hey, you can do this in a new way. Before, you would be given a structure and you'd be able to check the boxes and go forward. With this, you're given a bunch of check boxes, but there's not as much structure. You have so much more of an open plane to build with. And so you're given all the information and waterboarded with it. And then it's like, okay, so what are you going to do to be successful? And I have been able to learn that like, hey, you can do new things well, even in this space, where it's just like so many different options, so much different information. It just built my confidence in this new arena, this new space. And, it's really given me the confidence I need to go after the things like that I ultimately want to do in this next season. And so I'm grateful for that. The next thing, I'm not going to talk about this one for too long, but just, branding and thinking strategically is something that you definitely pick up in business in a different way than you did when you were, working than I did when I was in a 9 to 5 job. Like, when I'm there, I've always been kind of a strategic thinker. So a lot of things I contributed in those jobs were, strategic thinking and thinking through background processes. And I've brought that into business, but it's also been an idea of thinking bigger picture and thinking about aspects of the business that I didn't have to previously, which has been very cool. It's given me an opportunity to come out of my shell again because, I went through a season, intentionally of withdrawing to just, as my mentor says, regain my soul. Like, we just need to sit with ourselves because again, no one talks about that whole shift, whole lifestyle shift, whole almost identity shift that happens when you go from working in a regular job to now, building a business or multiple businesses or just being an entrepreneur in general, being self-employed. It's a whole different thing. And so, I went into, the cocoon for a bit, and real estate has given me the opportunity to come out of my shell again, engage with people. In general, I hate small talk, but it's taught me how to have, it's given me an opportunity to even have meaningful conversations in those moments where I would have been used to just having small talk conversations. And that has been very great. Another quick one, it's helped me to really explore my personal style in a different way. Like, I feel like my style has changed. And so it's just giving me an opportunity to, see the types of things I like to wear, I don't like to wear, dressing up, being in between, whatever that looks like, whether I'm hosting an open house, although I don't do those much anymore. But when I was hosting open houses and I wanted to dress up, and then on the days when maybe I'm going to an investment property where I need to have on tennis shoes, just thinking about like, okay, I'm not the same person as I was. So what does my personal style look like right now? This is a really, really, really big one. I probably should have put this at the beginning for those who don't watch the whole video, but for those that are still here, kudos to you, because a big thing it has done for me is it has reshaped my mindset around money. Like, literally, I know one of the first things, like when I quit my job in those early months right after, like one of the things God started speaking to me about was shifting my mindset around money. I did not necessarily realize just the layers that would come with, but we started off with just like healing, certain mindsets about money, but doing real estate specifically and being in business in general has shifted my mind in so many different ways. in one way, it has shifted my mind from thinking in terms of what can I do with what I have, which is what you do when you get a steady paycheck. It's just like, okay, my paycheck is $10. Okay, I've never been paid a paycheck of $10, thank the Lord, but I'm just going to use that for an example. My paycheck is $10, so okay, what can I do with that $10? You know, once that $10 is out, it's done. It shifted my mind from that mindset of what can I do with what I have to what can I do to get what I want. What can I do to get what I need, but more focused on what can I do to get what I want. And so it starts putting your mind in a creative space, an innovative space, and even a motivated space to do certain things, you know, to go after the things that you want instead of being constructed or constrained by whatever the paycheck is. And so even, you know, I talked about with Greece how I signed up for that trip and I low-key didn't know how I was going to pay for it, but guess what? I got paid for it, right? And that is the type of thinking. It's definitely faith in God. God definitely provided. And also, he gave me that opportunity to start thinking differently about money, to be able to think in terms of, hey, you want to go to Greece? Here's how you can do it. You need to sell a few houses, or you need to, back then, I think I was still doing organization work too. So you need to make sure that you're booking scheduling organization sessions with your clients, etc. And yeah, that's definitely a big mind shift from, you know, okay, this is the pot I have, so we just got to do what we have to do to, you know, it's endless. Like, it's infinite. Like, the limit does not exist. You know, you can go out there and make something happen, you know, and not in a hustling way, but either way. Another thing is done as far as reshaping my mind around money is to focus on making money to cover my needs and not just to cover my wants and not just my needs. Like, when I first started off, yeah, it was just the learning of, okay, you can, you know, put things in place to be able to cover your needs, to pay your rent, to pay off your car note, to whatever, you know. But being in real estate now and being at this stage, you know, after, what is this, the third year? I would say after 2.5 years of being in this space, it is now shifting my thinking to be able to think in terms of, yeah, you can create and work and generate income to cover your wants and not just your needs. And I feel like when I was working in a 9-to-5, there was an aspect of this, but it was still very much limited. I always felt like so heavily focused on my needs, so heavily focused on bills and etc. and being responsible, which is important because I feel like you can't necessarily get to this other part without the responsibility of that first part. But like, still, you know, it's really opened my mind about that. And I think the last thing I will say on this so far is, really big one. It has pushed me to become comfortable with being paid for the value I bring so that I'm prepared to be paid well for the virtue that I pour out. And so getting more used to seeing bigger numbers. Now, big for me, because it ain't about what a big number is for anybody else. But I know in real estate, it has given me opportunity to see different amounts of money come in that I've ever been used to before. And I'm not pretending like I'm rich by any means, but I'm just saying it has trained my brain to, you know, be prompted to be paid well for the things that I do, for the virtue and the value that I pour out. And so, next thing, not everything has to be permanent to be purposeful. So while I do see myself being, you know, having my real estate license for a while, you know, etc., I had already talked about how this is not necessarily what I feel like is my life's work. You know, I'm not one of those people that is like a career realtor, which those people that do it, those are people that help me to know I ain't, because they are like, they live, breathe, eat, sleep, dream real estate. And that is wonderful. But as much as I enjoy real estate, and I really do, I love it and I enjoy the things that I do, I know that this is not necessarily like that thing for me. It does not run through my veins like that. And so, you know, knowing that this is still very purposeful. I mean, we're looking at all the other things that I've already said that I've gained from it, and thinking about the clients that I've been able to serve, whether or not they bought a house, you know, the interactions I've been able to have, etc. It has definitely been purposeful. And just being able to honor that purpose without feeling like, well, it's not a forever thing, so it wasn't that purposeful. Like, no, it definitely has been. And the last thing, which is definitely a really big one, is that, you know, just this realization that God causes me to prosper in all things that I set my hands to. I don't remember what scripture it is that talks about that, but like literally, like I I don't fail. Like I will say that every single thing that I do works out, but like every single thing that I do ends up being a win, whether it be a lesson or whether it be growth or whether it be a massive success. Like I find that by God's grace, God graces me to prosper in the things that I do overall. And so it has really, encouraged me to, sit with him and myself, to determine where I should be putting my efforts in any given season. Because, a lot of times we can be drawn in different directions based off what we're good at. Well, by God's grace, I have the capability, and many of us have the capability of being good at a lot of things, especially like, when your mind is expanded, you're a lifelong learner, you can get in and learn something and, execute very well. And so in order to really hone in on your calling and also hone in on the type of life you want, it requires sitting with God and then sitting with yourself to learn, like, okay, what can and should I be doing in this season? More so, what should I be doing in this season? I don't want to say should. What is an alignment in this season? Because, there are a lot of things we all can do, and we maybe even can do them well. That's not necessarily in alignment per se, not in alignment with God's will, and not necessarily in alignment with the vision that we and God have for our lives. And so, just learning like, hey, you can be good at a lot of things. And so why don't you sit for a second and decide, your path forward, and then you can go forward with full throttle, do it well, and then move on to the next thing. Has been something that I've learned as well in this process. And so I want to ask you, this season of life that you are in, whether you're in entrepreneurship, whether you are in school, whether you are working a 9-to-5, a part-time job, whatever it may look like, your first salary job, what have you gleaned from that in this season? Whether you want to share with me in the comments, or, I invite you to journal about it, separately for yourself, but just like ponder, like what have these experiences taught me? What gems have I picked up? What ways has it expanded my mindset? What ways has it, changed me for the better? What things have I taken that I can, then take into the next season? I want to ask you that today. I would love to hear from you in the comments, but even if not, ask yourself those questions and sit with them for a minute, and then, move forward. And maybe even what learning that I shared from my own journey resonated most with you. So please do like the video, share with someone who is starting a new journey or has been on a new journey for some time, and maybe, you want to encourage them to reflect. And then please do subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. I hope that you have a healthy and wholesome weekend, and I will talk to you soon, God willing. You guys know that I love you bunches. All right, bye.